All right, well, I now have a week basically before I have to cast my vote for the 2019 election in Canada, the federal one. Here's the political compass. I basically did this last time, and I figure I basically do it again. I'll note I basically go down here to elections for Canada, and we go to like the 2019. There's basically like, how it basically looks like on their graph for like, the parties. So there's the People's Party all the way up here in the authoritarian right. Conservatives are just a little bit behind them. Liberals are right over here, Green are right here, Bloc Québécois over here, and NDP are over here. It's a very interesting graph because, well, for most part, I wouldn't expect the Greens to be all the way over here, for example, compared to like the Bloc and the NDP. So apparently they're like more to the right than the NDP, which seems very odd. It's also a little bit down here as well, but whatever. Well, anyways, let's just get into the test. We'll see how I basically go with this time around. So take the test. Alright, so just a few propositions to start with, concerning no less how you see the country in the world. Alright, so if economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational corporations. So basically, what who should this basically serve, humanity or transnational corporations? For most part, I agree with this. Not sure if I strongly agree with it, but whatever. I always support my country, whether it's right or wrong. I disagree with this. Patriotism is good, but there is limits to it. No one chooses his or her country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it. To some extent, I actually agree with this, but I also do disagree with it as well. So most people agree for that. Our race has many superior qualities compared with other races. I'm Canadian, so there's like a whole bunch of races here. So yeah, I kind of disagree with that. I strongly disagree with that. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I believe I said disagree with this last time because the enemy of my enemy could still be my enemy. So disagree. Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. At this point, I somewhat agree with this. Not sure if I fully disagree with it, but agree. And there is now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment. I have to somewhat agree with this because, I actually strongly agree with this. When information becomes entertainment, basically, there's a problem because it can really be really skewed, especially if fake information or things are coming into the mix. So next page. All right, test 2 of 6. Now the economy. We're talking attitudes here, not the FTSE index. All right. People are ultimately divided more by class than by nationality. Well, let's see here. I somewhat agree with this, but I don't fully agree with it. Actually, I sort of disagree with it. I think I have more in common with the upper classes in Canada than I do with, say, a Chinese person, in many respects at this point. Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. I sort of agree with this at this point, just because our employment is pretty good in Canada, so it is what it is. Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation. Yep, I strongly agree with this. Whether or not I believe they should be regulated, that's one thing, but, they definitely should be, regulated to some extent. From each according to his ability to each according to his need is a fundamentally good idea. To each according to his ability, to each according to his need. Not sure where this quote is from. I'm going to say disagree with it somewhat. I think, it shouldn't be, based on one's ability or need. It's just based on the person for a lot of things in, many ways. Alright, it's a sad reflection of our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled, branded consumer product. No, I don't think that's actually all that wrong, to be honest. I'm just going to, disagree with that one. I mean, if you have resources, and that includes water, then, yeah, it is a consumer product. It's just how it is. It should be probably something that, should be offered by, like, controlled by the state, but, it is what it is. Land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold. I strongly disagree with that. I think there is a purpose to having land being, like, something bought and sold, because it helps basically, like, the economy, like, regulate where people go and stuff like that. It's regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to their society. I have to disagree with that. I don't like bankers, but it doesn't mean like I fault them for doing what they do. Protectionism is something necessary in trade. Yeah, I agree with that somewhat. Well, protectionism by itself, no. I actually disagree with that. The only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to its shareholders. I actually strongly agree with this. I believe the government it's the government's responsibility to regulate how companies work, and it's the company's job basically to deliver a profit to its shareholders, regardless of how. Just how it is. Basic competing forces. The rich are too highly taxed. I strongly disagree with this. If they're rich, then this probably doesn't mean that they're too highly taxed. Those with the ability to pay should have the access to higher standards of medical care. Strongly disagree. Doesn't lead to good things. See America, for example, good example of that. Government should penalize businesses that mislead the public. Yeah, I strongly agree with that. Again, the government should be the counterforce to what the business basically does. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies. To some extent, I have to agree with this, but I also disagree with it as well. I believe the free market is there to as long as they don't go crazy and completely usurp the market and make it no longer free. I think you can basically do whatever you want, even if you are a multinational. The freer the market, the freer the people. Agree. To some extent, I agree with that. Next page. Alright, now I'll look at some personal social values. Abortion, when a woman's life is not threatened, should always be illegal. Yeah, I strongly disagree with that. All 40 should be questioned. All 40 should be questioned. Agree. I don't think it should be always questioned, but yeah, I believe that 40 should be questioned. Make sure the 40 is worth what they have. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Strongly disagree. I don't believe that gets anything done. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theaters or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis. I disagree with that. Actually, I strongly disagree with that. I believe that there is a purpose for culture. So propping up one's culture shouldn't be seen as a bad thing, especially when you're right next to the United States, where their culture could overshadow ours basically. So schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. I strongly agree. I agree. For the most part, I believe that and my headset cut out there. I believe that for the most part with classrooms, as long as a kid's getting his grades basically, it shouldn't really matter too much what their attendance is like as long as they're basically getting the grades. So I still agree with that, but well, yeah, I agree with it. All people have their rights, but it's better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own kind. So yeah, I strongly disagree with that. Can't really agree with that. I think that just creates an echo chamber. That's not going to help anyone. Good parents sometimes have to spank their children. Strongly disagree. Doesn't just don't I completely disagree with that. It's natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents. Agree. I believe that everyone should have their secrets, including children. Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense. That doesn't really apply to Canada anymore, so strongly agree, I guess. The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs. I agree with that to some extent. I believe it's also like, the job of the schools basically to, you know, open up the like, the idea to children, like, on like the world and stuff around them. Like for example, something like, uh, physical education, for example, won't really help you like, find a better job, but it will help you out, out with like, your personal life. Same with like, sex ed education, for example. So there's some stuff that, this is like, its primary function, but, not necessarily entirely just that. People with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce. Um, I disagree with that. I think that should be like a personal choice to the person for a lot of like, reasons. Basically, that's like going too far, I think, with the government. I can like see like some point to like, it being something that, I want to be concerned about here in Canada because we have like, public health care. So ultimately we have to take care of those persons with like, um, disabilities and such. But yeah, I disagree with it. The most important thing for children to learn is to accept discipline. No, disagree. I actually strongly disagree with that. There's a point in, where children should not, be learning to accept discipline because, like, what discipline are they supposed to accept? There are no savage and civilized peoples. There are only different cultures. No, strongly disagree. There are savage and, uncivilized cultures. Sorry. Those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society's support. I somewhat disagree with that, I think, but I also mostly agree with it as well. Here's the thing. Basically, like, what's the work being offered, I guess. I believe that there is, like, some things where um, you should be able to refuse what you're, going for work. So I somewhat agree with that, but not entirely. When you're troubled, it is better not to think about it, but to keep busy with more cheerful things. Um, that is not really probably the best thing to do. At some point, like, you should talk to someone about it, I think. First generation immigrants can never be fully integrated with their new country. False. I strongly disagree with that. I do believe that, eventually immigrants can be, like, fully integrated. It's just a matter of how. What's good for the most successful corporation is always ultimately good for all of us. No, I disagree with that. No broadcasting institution, however independent its content, should receive public funding. Nope, disagree with that. I like my CBC, for example. I don't think like it's necessarily like something that we necessarily have to have, but I do like it. I do believe it's worth funding. Next page. And it's something I like about the Political Compass. There was another site that I was probably going to look into, but after like an hour of going through the test and realizing there's a lot more as decide against it. Like this one's a fairly short one, which is why I like the Political Compass test. All right, and how do you see the wider world? Our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism. I disagree. A significant advantage of a one-party state is that it avoids all the arguments that delay progress in a democratic political system. I have to agree with this. I don't like it, but that is true. Although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried. No. I strongly disagree with that. I think everyone should be worried. The death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes. I have to say no. I'll note that with the death penalty, I could see it being like, applied, but in many ways, I actually think it's just probably better to at least try to rehabilitate even like the worst offenders. And in some cases, like say with like a jihadist, I don't think even killing them would be like the best sentence for them. It'd probably be better like to sentence them permanently in jail for the rest of their life. That's probably a worse sentence than killing them in many ways. In a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded. I kind of disagree with that. I mean, I think they can all be equal for the most part. Abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art at all. No, I disagree. Let people decide what they want is art. That's fine with them. In criminal justice, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation. No. So I disagree. Rehabilitation is more important at this point. It's a waste of time to try to rehabilitate some criminals. You know, I think I actually answered a lot of these questions differently like 4 years ago, but... oh well, I guess I become a little bit more liberal with like criminals and stuff, so... I disagree with this. I believe that, you know, most people can be rehabilitated. There might be some people who can't be, but I believe most people can. The business person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist. There is, like, you know, some truth to this after a certain point. So I'm going to say I agree with that. Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers. Strong disagree. Bring in the, you know, daycare. Let them work themselves if they want. Multinational companies are unethically exploiting the plant genetic resources of developing countries. Yeah, probably. That's probably their job. Make peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. I actually agree with this. I mean, it is what it is, so you deal with it or you know, go away from it, basically, so that's what it is. Next page. 5 of 6. If you got through that okay, you'll find these propositions on religion a breeze. Astrology accurately explains many things. Nope. You can't be moral without being religious. Nope. Charity is better than Social Security as a means of helping the generally disadvantaged. Disagree. Some people are naturally unlucky. Strongly disagree. And it is important that my child's school instills religious values. Strongly disagree. Well, that's easy enough. It was a breeze. Finally, I look at sex. Sex outside marriage is usually immoral. Agree. For majority of cases, I believe that's true. A same-sex couple in a stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption. Strongly agree. Pornography depicting consenting adults should be legal for the adult population. Yeah, I believe that's true. I agree. What goes on in the private bedroom between consenting adults is no business for the state. I guess, you know, that's a, you know, a nice little jab at United Kingdom there, because United Kingdom actually, like, you know, well, let's just say, leave that at that. Yeah, I strongly agree for the most part. No one can feel naturally homosexual, so I disagree. I believe you can. And these days, openness about sex has gone too far. I actually strongly disagree. I don't believe we've, you know, gone far enough yet, so disagree. Now let's see where you stand. Alright, so, in introduction, we explained the inaccuracies of the traditional left-right line. So, for those who missed it, if we recognize that this is essentially an economic line, it's fine, as far as it goes. We can show, for example, Stalin, Mao, Zedong, and Pol Pot, with their commitment to the total control economy on the hard left. Blah, blah, blah. Socialists like Mahatma Gandhi and Robert Mugabe would occupy a less extreme leftist position. Margaret Thatcher would be well over to the right, but further right still would be someone like the ultimate free marketer, General Pinochet. That deals with the economics, but the social dimension is also important in politics. That's the one that mere left-right scale doesn't accurately address. So we've added one, ranging in positions from extreme authoritarianism to extreme libertarism. Alright, so that's basically their line. So basically both economic dimension and social dimension are important factors for proper political analysis. By adding the social dimensions, you can show that Stalin was a fortunate leftist, i.e. the state is more important than the individual, and that Gandhi, believing in the supreme value of each individual, is a liberal leftist. While the former involves state-imposed arbitrary collectivism in extreme top left, on extreme bottom left is voluntary collectivism at regional level, with no state involvement. Hundreds of such anarchist communities existed in Spain during the Civil War period. You can also put Pinochet, who was prepared to sanction mass killings for the sake of the free market, on the far right, as well as a hardcore authoritarian position. On the non-socialist side, you can experience someone like Milton Friedman, who is an anti-state but fiscal rather than social reasons, from Hitler, who wanted to make the state stronger, even if it wiped out half of humanity in the process. The chart also makes clear that despite popular perceptions, the opposite of fascism is not communism, but anarchism, i.e. liberal socialism, and that the opposite of communism, i.e. an entirely state-planned economy, is neoliberalism, an extreme deregulated economy. That's basically where people basically lie. I'll note that, by the way, in many ways, communism and anarchism is like, something that's like, I don't think it even exists for the most part, but everything else more or less does exist, I believe, for the most part. Like communism's up here, free markets is down here. The usual understanding of anarchism is as a left-wing ideology, does not take into account the neoliberalism and anarchism championed by the likes of Ayn Rand, Milton Friedman, and America's Libertarian Party, which couples social Darwinism, right-wing economics, with liberal positions on most social issues. Often their libertarian impulses stop short of opposition to strong law and order positions, and are more economic in substance, i.e. no taxes, so they are not as extreme libertarian as they are extremely right-wing. On the other hand, the classical libertarian collectivism of anarcho-syndicalism, libertarian socialism, belongs to the bottom left-hand corner. In our homepage, you demolish the myth that authoritarianism is necessarily right-wing, with examples of Robert Mugabe, Pol Pot, and Stalin. Similarly, Hitler, on an economic scale, was not an extreme right-winger. His economic policies were broadly Keynesian, and to the left of some of today's labor parties. If you could get Hitler and Stalin to sit down together and avoid economics, the two diehard authoritarians would find plenty of common ground. And they probably did in many ways. A word about neocons and neolibs. The U.S. neoconservatives, with their commitment to high military spending and global assertion of national values, tend to be more authoritarian than hard right. By contrast, neoliberals opposed to such moral leadership, and more especially the ensuring demands of the taxpayer, belong to the further right but less authoritarian regime. Paradoxically, the free market, in neocon parlance, also allows for a large-scale subsidy of the military-industrial complex, a considerable degree of corporate welfare, and protectionism which is deemed in national interest. These are viewed by neolibs as impediments to unfair market forces that you champion. Alright, so here's my political compass. So apparently I've become more libertarian recently. That's interesting. I'm basically a whole lot, I'm basically like, dead center for the most part. In many ways, this is very similar to my my VoteCompass like thing here, where it's basically dead center, but a little bit down on the social scale. So I guess I've become a little bit less authoritarian and more libertarian, which is interesting. And a personal political compass surface showing your own position is available online. I'm not really sure I really care about this, so whatever. Well, anyways, that's basically where I lie on the political compass here. I can show a chart basically for print if I want to right here. And maybe I can blow it up. So, view image, and can I blow it up a little bit? I guess I can't, but whatever. There I am, basically, for the political compass. So I thought it'd be fairly similar to the VoteCompass. I guess I was a little bit wrong, because I'm a little bit more south in a libertarian position, but that's fine. That's actually I'm just gonna bring up my other video here I basically had in the past. So I'll note that this is my first video I have for the political compass. So let's just go to my YouTube channel here. And there's my political compass for 2015. I think this video is a bit longer than that one, but whatever, that's fine.
Leftist.
And let's just go this way. Alright, so this is not in the best quality apparently, that's fine. So apparently that's where it was last time. So basically, I guess I'm very similar in my libertarian positions, but I was a little bit more left last time. Now I'm a little bit more to the right, so I'm a little bit to the right this time. Interesting. Well, I'm getting older. I guess that's to be expected. Hope you guys enjoyed the quick test to basically see how I basically compare from now to 4 years ago, and take care.